Aloha! Have you ever imported some data into Excel from another program and it imports into a single column, like in this example? You have your last names and the first names and they're just separated by a comma, and what you want to achieve is something like this, where we separate the text into columns. That's right, text to columns. And so how do we do this? Well, very simply, we just go right ahead and select the cell where we want to separate the text into columns, and we click, select, Control X, Control V. Next one, click, select, Control X, Control V, click, select, Control X, Control V. No, that's not the way that we do it. That's the way we used to do it. Now, the way that we really do it is we go ahead and use some skills. What kind of skills? Well, our text to columns tool. To find the text to columns tool, just click on the Data tab, and once inside that ribbon, look for the Data Tools group. Here's the Data Tools group. On the Data Tools group, you'll notice the Text to Columns tool. When you hover over it, we see a little screen pop up that lets us know that you can split a single column of text into multiple columns. For example, you can separate a column of full names into separate first and last name columns, which is exactly what we want to do right now. So let's go ahead and let Excel know which one is the range of data that we want to convert the text into columns. To select this range of data, it's really simple in this case because we only have 15 rows. So we can just click and drag down to row 15, and there we have it. However, what if you had 15,000 rows? Are you going to click and drag all 15,000 rows? Well, you would if you had nothing better to do with your life. However, you're watching this video because you want to get yourself some skills. So let's learn a shortcut for navigating through our spreadsheets. One of my favorite shortcuts is using the Control and the Shift keys while pressing my navigation arrows on the keyboard. When you hold down the Control key, and for example in this case I'm going to press the arrow down, it's going to take my marquee to the last empty cell. On the way up, I press the arrow up while holding my Control key, and it takes my marquee to the last empty cell. If I hold down the Control key and I press the arrow to the right, it takes my marquee to the last empty cell in the last column. Hold down the Control key, press the arrow to the left, and I'm back at A1. When you hold down the Shift key and press the arrows, what's going to happen, it's going to select in the direction of your arrows. In this case, I'm pressing my navigation arrow down while holding down the Shift key, and it's selected in that direction. I press the navigation arrows to the right, and we see it selecting to the right. Now, what would happen if we hold down the Control key, which goes to our last empty cell, while at the same time pressing down the Shift key, which selects in the direction of our arrows? Well, let's see. Would it go to our last empty cell while selecting? Let's test that out. Let's press the Control key, hold down the Shift key, and press the navigation arrow on your keyboard down, and let's see what happens. Voila! Viva Las Vegas! It sure did. Pressing the Control key while holding down the Shift key and the arrow down selects while navigating to our last empty cell. There you go. Nice little tip. Now that we have selected our data, let's go ahead and apply the Text to Columns tool. So click on Text to Columns. Here we see the Text to Columns wizard appears, and it's taking us to step number 1. It's asking us to choose a data type that best describes our data. And it's looking like it has selected for us delimited, which means that characters such as commas or tabs separate each field. By looking at it closely inside of the preview of selected data, we see that yes, indeed, we have our data being delimited by, it looks like, a comma and a space. So let's click on Next. In step number 2, we can go ahead and choose our delimiters. As you can see that by default it selects tab. It's not a tab in this case. We have a comma and a space. I'm about to click on comma. Take a look at what happens in our data preview when I select that delimiter. Click. Separates our text into columns. We still have one more delimiter. As you notice, it is a space. Let's go ahead and click on space, and you see that it removes that delimiter. When you click on next, it takes us to our third and final step where we can select the type of data. You could leave it as general in this case. However, I'm going to specify it's text, so I'm going to click on text. I'll click into the next column, and it has pre-selected general. I'm changing it to text to be more specific, and prepare to be amazed now. Let's just click on finish. Viva Las Vegas. We have just converted our text into columns. Wow, isn't that so much easier than the old-fashioned way where we were just using our shortcuts and thought that we were doing good by saying Control X, Control V? Well, little did we know. Did you happen to notice when we looked at the text to columns tool that we had another option? We had fixed width as the file type that best describes our data. In this case, we choose delimited and then separate our text into columns that way. But what about fixed width? What is that? Let's take a look. Imagine that one of your colleagues at work comes running at you in a panic and says, "Can you help me? I've got this spreadsheet with all of these numbers and I need to go ahead and separate them. They're supposed to look like this. I need to go ahead and do this right away and send it to the regional manager. They're expecting it within the next 30 minutes. Can you help me?" And you reply to them, "Of course I can. Here, let me show you." We're going to use our text to columns tool. So first step, select our data that we want to separate into columns. Click on the text to columns tool. We see that we have the ability to choose the file type that best describes your data. In this case, our data is fixed width. So we select fixed width, click on next. Here we notice in step number 2, the wizard explains to us how to go about inserting our column breaks. So we're just going to click. The first number is going to be the inventory ID number. The next 2 digits will be the location, so we just click. And the next 4 digits are the lot number, so we count 4 numbers and click where we want it to break. And then the final 2 will be the serial number. So now we click on next. We can specify the data type. In this case, let's just leave it as general. And when we press finish, we can say, "Viva Las Vegas." Now, go right ahead and attach this to an email and send it to the regional manager right away. Your colleague at work is going to be so happy. And you can also say to them, "Anytime you need my help, feel free to come and ask me. Just remember, don't get mad, get skills." In this case, text to column skills. Aloha.